My name is Carlos Walker, and this is Art and Hustle, Black Authors Matter. And tonight we have Miss Celeste Jonah. How you doing, Miss Celeste?
I am doing great, Kazim, thank you for having me.
It is an honor. It is an honor. So, if you will, share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Gosh, it's so funny because when people ask me that question, I never know how to answer it. But simply put, I consider myself a good old country girl who grew up on a farm, who loved to write. I've been writing since I was about 10 years old. I used to write poetry. It was my getaway, my escape, my I guess you can call it even my healing at that time and growing up. Grew up, and honestly, my writing continued. I became a journalist. And then I looked up and I decided, you know what, I'm going to publish my poetry. And that was actually the first book I ever published. And I've published five other books since then.
Okay, so the first book is a poetry book.
Yes.
If you would like, if I don't know if you know any of them by heart, share one.
I don't know them by heart. I do have my book actually right here. If I can just grab one and read
Grab it
one.
yeah.
Okay. And the book is called Stella's Funk. And the purpose of my book was it takes you on a journey because when we start out and when we're born, we have everything we have. We know God's grace. We know we're wonderful and great. And then we grow up and go into the world and we end up with all these vices because the world defines who we are. But as we grow closer to God and we understand our relationship with Him, we know who we are and we know whose we are. And when that comes together, then we return to that beginning state where we are that and what I call that perfect being, because not that we're perfect people, but because we're with God. So I try to walk people through the journey, and a lot of the poems in here, and one of them is like a paragraph in prose. I is actually my life, and I just grabbed them today, grabbed them all together and put them in a book. But the one I'm going to read today is one of my favorites. It's called "I Met Me Today."
Hmm.
It goes, I met me today, all wrapped in dreams and desires. My eyes were all aglow with joys past and present. My heart did beat in high rhythm, awaiting the more of me to come. I met me today, my feet running hurriedly to meet me. I stretched out my arms to embrace the beauty before me. I held a long embrace to feel the love arising. I met me today, realizing there was good in what I saw. I accepted each and every imperfection and every flaw. I sighed as I felt at peace and began to feel the love for me. And that's my favorite one.
I met me today.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know why people do it, but hey, look, hey. So your next book,
hmm
what is that?
I did a children's book. It is called God's Shopping Cart.
Share it.
It is based around the scriptures where we it's so funny because I wrote the book and I think there might be a poem that's similar to it, but it talks about how the gifts of God, his grace, his mercy, his peace, all those things are right there. And all we have to do is go and take it. It's free. He already paid the price. So it's about a mother and daughter who are going to a grocery store. And of course, the store is called God's Shopping Cart. And the mom shops for peace, she shops for healing, and she shops for joy. She gets to the cashier and he says, no charge. So it's a reflection to help you remember that we're struggling for something that we already have. We just got to be willing to take it because God has already given it to us. And I did it as a children's book. And I this is actually the book, and I just added scripture to the end, and it's sketched out and everything. And that was my second book. Yes.
And all of these things start within. They're
Yes.
not things that happen outside of us. I learned a while back that peace,
Mm.
freedom, love, joy. One of my mother's favorite things to say was, "This joy that I have, the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away."
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's from within.
It is.
So something that a physical thing that I have, or a person that walk out your life, or
Mm-hmm.
something that you lose, these aren't things that are supposed to bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that, as they said, Happiness is from things that happen.
Yes.
Something has to happen to give you happiness.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
joy, it starts within. So no matter what chaotic stuff that's happened out here,
Mm-hmm.
stay in that peaceful mind that Christ stayed in, because guess what? It's from here. It's not from out here.
It
So,
is, but we miss that as human beings. We think that number one, the stuff is going to
mhm.
make us happy. And happiness, it like you said, it comes and goes in waves based on outside and external circumstances. But when you have that, like you said, joy and that peace on the inside, it's consistent. If
Mm.
you allow it to be, it keeps you steadfast and immovable that no matter what is going on around you, whatever's going on in the world, it doesn't impact you. To me, I look at it as like a shell, a protective shell. It keeps your mind clear and allows you to go on and do what you need to do. Yep.
And your third?
My third book is called, it's kind of like I did two, almost two at the same time. It's called On the Way to the Market. And it's so funny because I wrote this book. I woke up in the middle of the night and heard the title.
Mm.
And it's interesting. I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like an elementary teaching. Um, Several kids in the book, and it starts off like, I'm so sad. I'm gonna cheat. But this is the book, and it starts off. This person meets this person who was wearing green boots, and then it's a line all the way. And the way I look at it is, when you read it, and if you're reading it to your children, it kind of helps them like with their memory. It's like a mental, educational, thought processing book. And the characters in the book are named after my nieces and my nephews. So, so it was just something I had fun with, and I promise you, it came to me like 2:30 in the morning. So I'm rolling over, writing down the title, and going back to sleep.
I know when I said third book, you actually brightened up.
Oh.
It was different than the other two.
It is.
I ain't saying that this is the favorite book, but it seemed like the brightness of it, it might have been.
It is my favorite, and it's so funny because I can't actually define why, but I think I had more fun with this book and all the things that it could do. And just being able to use my nieces and nephews' names in it, because I sent the book out to them and say, "Hey, this has your name in it."
Mm.
Yeah.
And your fourth.
My fourth book is called The Ashes Have Voices, and I actually wrote this book with four other Black women. We collaborated together, and it was interesting because we lived in different cities and
Okay.
we would meet online. And what we did is we actually told our stories. Three of the women were married, so they talked about marriage. Couple of them have kids, so they talked about how it was raising their kids. We talked about growing up in the church. There was one young lady who came to Christ, had never been to church, and became to Christ in her 20s. Talked about that. Talked about childhood traumas, things that we grew up, things we dealt with our parents, and just put all our stories together in one book. And for a while, we got out when we were able to. We would, try to meet people, have book tours and book signings, and I love this book, and it really is close to my heart because just like my channel, it told stories so other women and men could relate and say, hey, you're not the only one going through this. And we would have conversations with people, and just to see the release when we would talk to people was a satisfying part of it.
Very interesting.
Okay.
And your
It's a
fifth.
good book. My fifth book is the beginning of a series. I decided I wanted to do 21 short stories
Mm.
in three different books, with seven stories in each book. So I have finished the first one. I'm in the process of writing the second one. The name of the book is called The Roads More Traveled. A lot of times, I believe, we talk about the road less traveled. People talk about the different things and how to put this. We talk about people who do the extraordinary things, but there are those people who have to live everyday lives, who have everyday challenges, and they have challenges that everybody else is going through. As I was writing it, what I ended up discovering was a lot of it came out of my own experiences. And I felt like I was putting myself in different characters, which is so funny. One of them, for example, is about a lady. Her name is Susan, and she's loud. And I have been told I am loud. So, and she gets into this discussion with some woman out of and they're talking, and the woman says, "Why are you so loud?" They're in a store, and she's like, "Why are you so loud?" So Susan expresses herself through the spoken word about why she's loud, and basically tells the woman, "Yes, I'm loud, but I refuse to be quiet."
Mm.
But I wrote those kind of stories because people tell you different things about yourself to get you to be who they want you to be. And I told her story because I am loud and I refuse to quiet down. Stand for yourself. Everybody's different. We are not all meant to be the same, and we are not all cut from the same cloth at all. So I wrote that, and there are six other stories in there, women and men points of view. Um, One of the men in the book is, and I hope it's okay to say this. He's a big high corporate. He has a meeting, and the man that walks in is the man who violated him as a child.
Mm.
So I deal with that issue. So I'm trying to deal with issues we as a community don't talk about. Number one, and I wanted to make sure men were in there because I feel like men, especially Black men, get overlooked, and we talk about Black women so much. It's like, wait a minute, Black men have some of the same issues and challenges we have, but we expect you all to be tough, but it's okay for the woman. Yeah, but it's okay for the woman to have all these emotions. No, it doesn't work that way. God built us all with emotions. So I made sure I put men in the book as well because that was important to me that those stories were told from a different point of view as well.
A
Yeah.
different standpoint because
Yeah,
it happens.
it does
Uh,
happen.
and the same thing that a lot of women go through, as you just stated,
Hmm.
men go through.
Yes.
And like I said, nobody pays attention to the man
I
because
know.
they don't. I don't know if it's they do not think that this happens to men,
Yeah,
but we know it happened to men.
it does happen.
I mean, it has happened. Hate to use this, but it has happened in the Catholic Church.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It has happened in other places too. But this is one of the places that we know as a matter of fact that this has
Right.
happened, and
Absolutely.
and consistently.
Yes.
And hate to use that word, but consistently.
But and they make it like it's ordinary, not dealing with it for as long as they did is the same way they do Black men. It's like, oh, they'll be okay. They'll be okay.
And
No, they are
no,
not.
they
They,
mentally are not stable
they're
because,
not.
and don't get me wrong, everything's supposed to, it's still supposed to work out for your good.
It is.
But you have to learn how to, I don't want to say deal, you have to learn how to overcome.
You do. Absolutely.
One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Revelations 12 and 11. And it
Mm-hmm.
says, and they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by
Mm-hmm.
the word of their
Of their
testimony.
testimony. Mm-hmm.
So the blood of the Lamb, we know that's Christ
Yes.
because he's already paid price, did the things that he was supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
is within. But the next part is
Mm-hmm.
everything because everybody may not believe in Christ, but what happens is we have each other.
Yes.
My testimony is supposed to strengthen you. Your
Right.
testimony is supposed to strengthen the next person or me. Because
Mm-hmm.
what happens is when I share what God has done for me, God
Mm-hmm.
is no longer a mystery.
Yep.
I just
Yes.
shared my personal relationship with you, and you
Mm-hmm.
share your personal relationship. And what happens is everybody realizes, hold up, God is working, and
Mm-hmm.
He's still doing miracles, and it's not just for me; it's for you too.
Right. Exactly. But people miss that. They think, oh, this couldn't ever happen for me. But it can. It can happen. It happens to you and for you. And as you said earlier, it's working out for your good. He's a good God and he wants to give us good gifts.
Yes,
But I think people get caught up in the Old Testament, that angry God, as as I animate, they get caught up in that. But I'm thinking, even in that, he still practiced a level of grace. When the children of Israel
He showed
took it,
love. Look, oh,
Right.
man.
Mercy. I'm like, it took you all 40 years for a 11-day journey. And I'm thinking he didn't, yeah, he did wipe some out because of disobedience, but he kept his promise. He did what he said he was going to do. And he's a miraculous God. Who do you know can part a sea?
Look, and he did it for them.
Yes.
He did it so then his name could be shown.
Yes.
And this is the thing. It says that most people do look at it like he was just a,
Right.
but God actually wasn't. He chosen people, his children. This
Mm-hmm.
is what he called them. Even us as parents, what we do, hey, child act up, what you do?
Discipline them,
You gotta look, you gotta
but you
discipline them
love
in
them.
some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But look at how much he took before he disciplined.
He
Look at
did.
look, you constantly nagging and making all these things instead of just saying,
Right.
instead of looking back and saying, you know what, look at what he just did for me.
Right.
Where's the gratitude? Where's the, the appreciation? No
Right.
appreciation. So hey, he had to do what he done. But back to this. So um what inspired you to write? I mean, I know you said you started writing poems. What brought on that inspiration?
Honestly, I cannot pinpoint it, but for me in writing, because I also journal,
Mm,
it is it's freeing. It does something for me that other things cannot do. There's something about writing. I, I know this may sound strange, but I feel like I'm at peace and I'm one when I write. I write and I study, and it works together for me. So when I write, I'm creating with a purpose.
mhm,
So, like my books, for example, Stella's Funk, The Roads More Traveled, The Ashes Have Voices. It's the point of telling a story for people to see their own lives differently, so they can see their own themselves better more than their circumstances are. Your circumstances don't define who you are from the person. It's what's on the inside. What happens to you is not who you are.
mhm.
And that's where my writing comes from. A lot of it has a point. The only book that is just random is On the Way to the Market, the children's book. Everything else I've written, I write with the purpose of when this person reads this, man, woman, boy, girl, whatever, whoever reads this, they will walk away from that book and say, you know what? I'm okay. And
Mm,
I'm going to be okay. And that's what I desire for people to take away with my writing. Yeah.
that's powerful.
Thank you.
So there, I don't normally do this, but I do want
Uh-oh.
to put you on the spot. So,
Uh-oh.
because of the way that I actually came into contact with you.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, you were sitting in a car.
Yes.
What was your thought? What was you doing? I ain't gonna spoil it for them. I'm gonna let you share it because this is to me it was mind blowing of how it went viral. So
Yeah.
share it.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. That day, I was at my wits' end because I felt as if, yeah, I did make mistakes along the way. I understand that there were some decisions that, and I do this in air quotes, a normal person wouldn't have made. My choices were different. But honestly, I know we're all different, but there's a different calling on my life. And I know God allowed things and He allowed this journey. But by that point, I was like, God, I've done everything that I know to do. I came back to Memphis because I believe God called me back to Memphis. And but I still tried to do everything. I was obedient. There are things He asked me to do. There were things He asked me to say, places He asked me to go, and I did it. And I just thought, I'm doing everything I know to do, and nothing is coming together. And I don't know what happened that last 30 days, but it felt like the bottom was falling out. Like somebody had just, I don't know, like the floor had opened up and I was just drowning. And I don't know where all of that came from, but I just felt like I could not get ahead. So I went out to my car. I was at work and I was sick. Where I am is it's an office, so I'm kind of back. And I was like, I cannot sit back here and cry because I'm about to break down. So I went to my car and I said, I'm going to record this and I'm going to share this. And I just went to my car and did it. And even though there were moments I wrestled about uploading it, I said, I'm going to upload this. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I know my family and friends may see this, but I'm going to do this anyway. And that was part of my fear. What are people going to think about me? And I will tell you, I'm going to go back a little bit. Most of my life, people have looked at me because the way I speak, the way I carry myself, that they think I have it all together. And while you think I've got it all together, I am crumbling on the inside. But I'm smiling. I'm doing, I'm holding my head up, but it's so heavy. So when I went to the car that day, I was like, I'm letting it all out. So I'm gonna do my Black woman role. I don't care what they think. I'm gonna do, I'm going to do this. I'm just gonna do it. And I did. And came home. Everything you saw, I didn't cut anything out. I uploaded it and there it was. But I could not believe I could not believe it went viral like it did. It blew my mind because in my mind it was just a story. It was just something I shared. And I just refused to hide anymore because I was tired of hiding. I'm just sick of hiding and putting on a facade for the world. I said, I'm done with it. I don't care what anybody else thinks. And that's what happened. Yep. In the parking lot of my job during my lunch hour.
And a lot of people, I read a lot of the responses.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people or the responses that I read, they was like they wish they had the courage that you had, because they felt like you actually stepped out and lived something that they will be afraid to live. And that was your dream.
Yeah.
And everybody don't know how to walk out in faith and say, you know what, God, I trust you. I don't know where this thing gonna land. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for you to make sure that this happen,
Mm-hmm.
and walk out and do that. I commend you for doing that.
Thank you.
And I want you to know that that's special. I
Thank you.
learned how to do it myself, uh, and trust God, because trust, to me, I look at faith as trust.
Mm-hmm.
Faith ain't just me saying, "Oh, I believe in God," and then God tell you to do something, you don't do it.
Right.
It's you. God said, "Hey, take the step,"
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm going to do, and make sure that it's light there, so then when you take the step, you're
Mm-hmm.
stepping in the right place. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to fall in a hole. It may feel like it.
Yes, it does.
Jeremiah 29:11 says, "I know the plans I have towards you,
Mm-hmm.
not to harm you, but to prosper you and give you an expected end."
Mm-hmm.
While it may feel like harm in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be for prosperity and an expected end, something great in the long run. But it's going to be for that testimony that somebody else needed. And the reason why God allowed that to go viral is because somebody else needed it.
And I am glad that people share their stories because even in them sharing their stories, I felt less alone. And when you talk about the word, that is the only thing that sustained me when I left for Atlanta. I went to Atlanta because to follow acting because I felt like God was leading me. I waited. When I hear the word of God and I believe He's telling me to do something, I wait because I want to make sure it's not my flesh. And so I packed up and moved, and everything went upside down. But I say all the time that moving to Atlanta, the experiences I've had, and coming back here was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me. And it strengthened my relationship with God because I felt like for so long God was quiet when I was going through. And what people miss is that even though God asks you to do something, it doesn't mean you're not going to hit any trouble. It doesn't mean you're not going to have any bumps along the way. That's
You
part of the journey. And that's
you
how
can
He helps you
count it.
grow through the journey. People miss that. But my main scripture, I would say all the time, walking around my apartment, I would be crying. I might be singing and rejoicing, but I would say constantly, He has not forsaken me, nor has He abandoned me. He has not forsaken me, nor has He abandoned me, because I felt like God was so quiet and He was just silent. But I believe God was waiting on me. I really do. I know that all this happened at just the right time, and I'm trying not to get emotional about it. Hug.
Look, get emotional. You're supposed to. This what this for.
I know, and I'm just like, but I guess I'm trying to, well, let me look. Let me just let it go because they've already seen me cry anyway. But it's the idea that I know my life better than anybody. I know where I've been. I know what I've done. I know my shortcomings, my sins, my mistakes. And I'm so hard on myself. And that's why I laugh. Some of the things people put in the comments that were not so nice, like, boo, you ain't got none on the things I've said to myself anyway. But it's like, man, God chose me.
Hmm.
He chose me. He trusted me with this assignment. Me. And I have those moments, I just sit and I'm thinking, God, I'm not Jeremiah. I'm not Elijah. I'm not Abraham. I'm not Paul. I'm not Pete. I just, because I see, the men and women, they talk about, I'm just like, I'm not them. But you chose me in spite of times I've been disobedient. You told me, like the song says, you told me to go left. I went right anyway. And I'm like, I am honored that God would choose me. And even in it going viral, I have prayed every day, Lord, what do you want me to do with this? Where do you want me to go? How can I be a blessing to the people? And it was funny because people kept asking me to post my Cash App. And I was like, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it because I want to be a blessing. I don't have money to give anybody, but I believe I can use my gifts and talents and my skills to be a blessing through my words. And I struggled with that. And I'm telling you, people kept telling me to post my cash. I was like, can't do it, can't do it.
You
You
should
know,
you should have posted it because what happens? They was trying to be a blessing to you.
and I ended up doing it. I finally succumbed to the pressure, but I finally posted it. And people just tremendously blessed me.
They poured in.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. And even through this, Carlos, the amazing thing is I have realized how hard it is for me to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I thought I was better than this, but it was so hard. Somebody sent me some money. One of the first people before I did my Cash App, a few people found my Cash App. I don't know how they did it, but they found it, and I was like, but sent me money, and the person's email just happened to be on the the way they sent it, and I wrote them, I was like, can I do something for you? Because I realized I have a hard time receiving, and I had to go back and ask myself, do I feel unworthy? What is going on with me that I'm having a hard time receiving? So honestly, that's where I am and that's what I'm dealing with. Because if I can't receive at this level, how am I going to
When you
receive
get
at
here,
yes.
that's how God works.
Yes. So he is working on me and I'm telling you, I'm on my face in the morning. It's like, okay, Lord, I can do this. You trusted me with it. He is trusting me with other people's souls.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it. And I said, I'm being careful. I'm being careful and I'm being wise. I'm going to care for them like I want somebody to care for me. And that's where I am. I have to. But I will tell you, family and friends found me. People from 20 years ago sent me messages and they were so encouraging. Everything I feared actually really didn't come to pass. Not in the way I thought it would be.
It don't never. That's the reason why. Look,
Yeah.
God said, or in the word it says, basically, don't worry about tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and it lets you know this because the way we think, we fear the worst of
Mm-hmm. We
the
do.
future instead of realizing that your past made your present. Your present makes your future.
Mm-hmm.
What are you working on today that will
Yes.
come to pass for tomorrow? Don't
Right.
try to think and say, oh, well, my bills ain't going to get paid. What if they do?
Right.
Because
Right.
you serve a God that I didn't see money fall from the sky. Not literally, but
I know what you
figuratively,
mean. Yes.
but literally. I
Mm-hmm.
have need. I was down to about to start living off my credit card.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
God allowed me to walk into my sister's hair salon, and it was a guy sitting there, and I heard God clearly say, "Go back to your car, get a book." I went and
Mm-hmm.
got one of my books. I
Mm-hmm.
gave it to him, told him to look, take a look at it. He was reading the
Mm-hmm.
book. I walked to the back, came back to the front. Me and him talked for 2 hours. He
Oh,
said, "Come back
wow.
next week." I came back next week. We had a conversation, and he handed me an envelope, and it was $3,000 in there.
Wow.
Needed the money, but there was also God knowing that if I stopped then,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
me and you wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
That is so true.
So what I learned is that God allowed people to show up so you can
Mm-hmm.
keep going,
Right.
because you may be in your mind doubting, oh man, how is this going to work out? I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doubting then, but I know how this works for other people. I
Mm-hmm.
learned how to just trust God, and I don't need to know. I
Right.
know if this is the journey you have me on,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to set up look this beautiful road to get me where
Right.
I'm going. Because look, or as what they said with Dorothy, stay on the yellow
Right.
brick
You
road.
look road. Exactly.
Look, you're going to meet the wizard. Stay on
Right.
the road. Don't do as I have done in the past. Stepped off the road trying to do it myself. No,
Yes.
I don't have to do that. The yellow brick
Right.
road. I just gotta follow these little this path, and I'm gonna get to where we're going. Stay on the road.
And that is all that matters. I want to share, you were talking about faith because that's what it takes. I read a quote and it said, faith is acting like God is telling the truth.
Look,
And I fell in love with, I was like, that is so on point.
hey,
That's exactly what faith is, and that's what it is. And just thinking, you had to have the faith and believe. I got to go to my car and believe that God was in it.
look. I wouldn't be here. I said a prayer 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me see. Yeah, 11 years ago, I said a
Mm-hmm.
prayer because my parents them came to see me,
Mm-hmm.
and they were sick looking. And what
Mm-hmm.
ended up happening? After I said, they came to see me, I went back to the cell, got on my knees, and I told God, if you give me something that'll help me make money where I never sell drugs again, I will
Mm-hmm.
tell the world about you. From then till now, what God did was set up everything for me, and I had to do, yes, some work. I only owed 1%. God has did the 99%. And what I learned, trust the process. It may
Mm-hmm.
not come when I want to, but what
Right.
I do know, I know it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have to keep my eyes stayed on what was told to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you forget what God told you, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose all sight.
Yes, you will.
So
Absolutely will. And that's the key, holding on to the promise. And
hold on.
so many, and unfortunately, so many people lose sight of the promise and they let go of it because they don't want to tarry, they don't want to wait. But that season of waiting is so important. It is so important, and it's not only waiting, but it's about how you wait.
Waiting well.
That's exactly what it is. Waiting well. Waiting well. And I had to grow into that. I had to
Yes.
grow into that because I believe I had not matured and grown, regardless of what gifts and talents I have, I would not be, look, I wouldn't be on this with you. I would not, because I wouldn't have been ready. It really is a place of surrender when you let God say, I'm going to let you do this. Tell yourself, I'm going to let you do this your way, God. I'm done. I've done all the scrapping I can do. It's like the Bible says. I think it was David who said, "Is it in Psalms? Really, my arms really are too short to box with God. I can't box with God." The song says that you can box with God. You will lose every single time. And I'll share you one more thing. It's so interesting because even before all of this blew up, like I said, God has been, since I've been back, God has been calling me to do some things, and I've been obedient. But it's in that waiting, I've had to make sure I stay focused on my word. And he kept taking me to Jonah, kept taking me to Jonah. And when I read Jonah, the thing that stuck out to me was the word prepared. When they got ready to throw him off the boat, it says the Lord prepared
The
the fish
fish.
for him. When he
Yes.
got ready, yeah, it said he prepared. And I was like, I never paid attention to that. But we miss that. We do. We miss that God has prepared it. We just got to be willing to walk and do the work.
And the fish gonna get you where you need to go.
spit him right out of where he needed to be.
He just had to surrender within the
Yes,
inside. Once he was surrendered, he ended up where he was supposed to be. Didn't have to travel because the fish took him there. You
exactly.
just got to know that in the cocoon or in whatever it is that you're in,
Hmm. Right.
you're going to get spit out where you're supposed to be. You just got to trust the
You
process.
got to trust the process. And that's why I'm glad I posted the video. Didn't expect it to go viral, but I am glad I posted the video. I'm glad that, I do my writing because, again, I do it with the purpose of others in mind. Yes, it is a blessing to me and it helps me. But for me, it's about other people. And I laugh because you were talking about answered prayers. For a long time, I asked God, I said, Lord, you gave me these gifts and talents. What do you want me to do? I get a lot of compliments on my voice. Okay, Lord, you gave me this voice. What do you want me to do with it? And I've waited, and I'm not talking 5, 10 years. I've been praying this for at least 15, 20 years. I'm waiting on God to answer. In the meantime, I've tried to do what I know to do, to be a blessing and to be better and to grow mature. So that's why I go back and say, I'm honored that God chose me for a time as this. That's what it is. Because it is not me. I promise you. I would be somewhere else if it was up to me.
Trust and
But
believe.
I love the Lord and this is where I want to be.
It says your gift will make room for you and put you before great men.
Yes.
So continue to use your gift. Before we
Thank you.
leave, I do want to ask you to give me a word of wisdom for somebody old, young, uh, prison, out of prison. It doesn't matter where they're at in their life. Give me a word of
Mhm.
wisdom for them.
What I would say to you is believe in the core of who you are and don't ever let anybody tell you who you're not. We were created in the image of God. And when you look at who God is, He's a creator, He's
Hmm.
wise, He's full of grace and mercy and love. You have the same traits. You have the exact same traits. Don't ever let anybody talk you out of who you are and whose you are.
And share with the people where they can actually purchase your books because, hey, all y'all, please go get Miss Celeste books. Y'all need them. You don't know what your child needs. She got children's books. She got books for you. And even the children's books, they're technically not children's books. They're books for you.
Yes, yes. My books, they're actually on Amazon. They're under my name, Celestial Nay. So you can go there, you can put in my name, and all of the books will show up for you. All of them will.
It
Thank
is an
you.
honor.
No, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate it.
I'm glad you posted the video because that's how I found
Thank
you. Look,
you.
God knows how to use everything. It's not working against you, it's working for you.
It is. It
When
is.
you was in that car, you probably couldn't even figure out that you and I would be doing this. So here we go.
Never
Love,
saw it coming.
love you. I love you. I love you. I thank you
Thank
for all
you.
that you have done, all the books that you've written, all the things that you're gonna do.
Thank you.
And I ask that God continue to bless you on your journey.
Thank you. And I do pray the same for you. Keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing is important and it's very, very, very valuable. I appreciate you. And I appreciate this conversation. I might have to take a run around my apartment when we get off the video.
Look, my name is Carlos Walker. This is Art and Hustle, Black Authors Matter, and this is Miss Celeste. How do you say it, your name?
Jonah, yes.
Your name. I spelled it. I said it wrong the first time.
That's okay.
Love you, baby, and I'll
All
be
right. Love you. Thank you.